Well, it's raining today, not like no September, but occasionally we'll get a really nice day. A couple of days ago, it was a lovely sunny day. It's great, and sometimes we look around and we think, yeah, it's really great out there. I'm so glad I live in Norfolk. I mean, that's serious. And I was thinking, what reading could I find from the Bible today? And I thought, well, people have written a lot of things in the Bible about the time they live in and where they're at. So I thought I'd read a bit tonight. But just so that you'll remember, I thought, well, I won't just stand up here and read. I'm going to get on the table and read it. Well, I saw Laura go across there earlier, so I thought I'd. So,
They're not brilliant with neighbour, man.
I think I've got a quick.
All right.
So, there's this guy in the Bible, and most of you will know of his name. He's just a shepherd boy, someone that was out and about, lived with the sheep. Didn't have sheep pens in those days. This is like 3,000 years ago. But this guy really loved where he lived. And he wrote down a couple of times, well, more than once, about the place where he lived. So you've got to imagine a shepherd boy, just with the sheep. Sorry, look, I saw you go across there earlier on. No,
Sorry, wasn't expecting to find you on the table, Joe. Not yet, anyway.
So this guy must have seen great visions at different times because he was out with the sheep, and so the sheep were there all night. He was there all night. They would cling around in those days, and he was a poet. He became the second biggest king in Israel 3,000 years ago, and some of you may well know his name was King David. David the shepherd boy who killed Goliath, was a king, was adulterous, a regular guy, but he was the king. But I'm going to read a bit that he might have thought at some time. I'm going to write this down, what I see. And so he lying down with his sheep and maybe a fire on, and maybe it was dark, and he was watching the stars. I'm thinking, I ought to write something down about this. And he did. Now I'm reading to him. And I'm going to pretend he writing it down at night. So I have to have my life in it. And he said this. I suppose you've been looking up and just thinking, it's a fantastic night or a fantastic day. And he says this. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Day after day he pours forth speech. Night after night displays knowledge. What? Then he writes, there is no speech or language where his voice is not heard. The voice goes out through all the earth, the words to the ends of the world. And he must sat there or lay there or coming to and enjoying it all and thinking, I need to write this down. And he did. And it's Psalm 19. He wrote it down. And at the end of the psalm, which is quite a long psalm, we're not about it tonight, he wrote, the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart is pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Now, he wrote lots of psalms, not always lying on his back, looking at stars, but he was a guy that saw things as they were and took it in and said, God made all this. Well, whether you believe it or not is your choice, but this was this guy's real feelings about how he felt and how it looked as he was on his own, no one else there, just him and the sheep all night, seeing the stars and everything going by. So I think it's a brilliant synopsis of what one man thought about his God, the God that made it all. So let's pray. I'll stand up to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the Bible. We thank you for many things that influence our lives. And we thank you for the words we've read tonight. One man's view as he looked at the stars at night and the sun in the day and said, you made all of this. And for many of us, when we think about these things, we do so in our own hearts. I know about this, and I'm glad that God made all of this. Others may have other views. But tonight we bring our prayers to you for things in the town that we're concerned in, that we can have an influence in, and we can have an opinion on some things. Thank you, Lord, for giving us the opportunity to be town councillors, to serve you for and in this town. And so we ask your help upon our meeting tonight. And we ask, Lord, that you will lead us and guide us in our thoughts, our actions, and our decisions. We pray all these prayers in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. I hope we got that on the recording, you lying on the table.
We might have done, yeah.
Right, moving on to the agenda items. One is to apologies and reasons for absence.
We've got quite a few. So, sorry, I took a photo. We've got apologies from Councillor Coates, Councillor Coulter, Councillor Gear, Councillor Huggins, Councillor Irwin, Councillor Quinn, and Councillor Schofield. I don't think I've missed anyone.
Yes, moving on to item 2, do we have any declarations of interest or submitted dispensation requests? Good. Item 3, Chair's discretion for any matters or announcements for information only.
Sarah, you have one as well.
Sorry?
I just have one there. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So as we go through. Item 4, to determine which items, if any, of the agenda should be taken with the public excluded.
I don't feel there is anything unless anyone else has any suggestions, but
No, I couldn't see anything. No, so straight on through. Item 5, my favourite bit, is public participation. Hello, Norman.
Chairman, well, I did go to a children tonight down in Montana. I'll just say to the ladies and gentlemen in the room that at the moment, the chairs, some of the seats in the theatre itself is in pretty awful condition. I was very pleased when I went in the other night and see that the chairs has been repaired and all done up, looking quite tired and nice. But the other thing was that I did say, you might say, well, nothing to do with this council. I agree with that. But is it possible for someone to ask the committee or the runs of the theatres itself, do you think they could put on a bit more shows at the theatres? Because if you look at it, it's getting more like cinema.
rather than a theatre. Then somebody did mention it, so they got to, I said, well, I will council meeting, I could ask the meeting if they could. And the other thing is, I don't know if anybody, when they're walking around this town or what down the front, I went down tonight in the car, I don't know now, probably. And what's happening is that somebody don't look after the lighting in this town at all, down it. I go back to this lighting again, on the seafront itself, right across the seafront, there is no light stop. So it's Wetherspoons that give the best impression of Overgreen, the more lights. It's a bit, it isn't very good actually. And when I come out of the theatre, around the back of the theatre, unfortunately, there isn't any lights at all. But the lights that is on at the theatre, there's only lights you can actually see. But if you, I don't know, it's neglected all the time. And as for the floodlighting, well, that is I think it's more of a joke rather than anything else. It's a bit, it's a lot of money been spent. You might as well give it to the council. This is waste of time. So could you ask somebody to have a look at the lights down there? The string of lights across them is not on. And you know, none of the lights on the posts are on the top, as you know, so. I've been there tonight, but. So, thank you very much.
Sarah had a
Yeah,
point to raise on that.
You, Norman, it was more when you were talking about the programming, I was talking to Cass Turner on Friday, because us district councils had an update in general about the theatre last, it was like ages ago, it was probably December, can't quite remember, about how they are gonna look at programming, but it was just very general. But when I spoke to Kaz yesterday, Friday, she's been banging on about getting good programming in Ilfracombe for quite a long time. And the guy who's the head of it all, Paul Jepson, has basically caved into her and said, you can do what you want when it comes to programming. Obviously, she's saying there must be a limit, but she's pleased to have got to that point, and she's really passionate about having good programming. So I haven't got any details, but it looks as though there'll be much more control over the programming happening here in Ilfracombe to make it, fuller. So that's my update on that. And on the lighting, I was just going to ask you, do you mean in the car? You don't mean the closed part of the car park, you mean just the back of the theatre?
If you went in tonight, all you're going to do, just drive the car down and look at the front, and the front's completely dark.
Okay.
Right about stuff. I know you might say, well, there's nobody here, but it doesn't look good.
Okay.
Even the lampposts are not there. It should be there. And the only thing that's lit up is around the back of Capstone. Because I think they have to keep it lit. It's for voting and things of that nature. But that is lit. But when it comes to the seafront down the bottom, or something else, they don't worry about it. It doesn't look good anyway.
We'll start with town team on whatever day it is, Wednesday, Tuesday.
And thank you very much.
Councillor Grant.
I think it was before that, so I think it was October, November, because I saw Paul and the story that he sold, and Kaz was there, so it's Paul, Kaz and me, what he said is, I think I presented this, the fact that if they have for example, he's talking about Blondie, using the example, they've got a Blondie tribute act. The Blondie tribute acts are relatively economical and they will sell. So that pays for itself. But on the back of that, what they'll do is they'll do like perhaps a fashion show of all the punk stuff that was around at the time, and then they'll put the film on Quadrophenia at the same time. So anybody that's interested in like the 1970s, late 70s to the early 80s, it's almost like a scene weekend, and it's based on the success they've had with the what they call the weekend thing in September. Yeah, well, weekend. So it's that kind of idea is what they're hoping to do. And he did say, he did promise he'd come and do a little, the about 6 talk here and explain his, because he will explain it a bit better than me, to be honest. But that's the gist of it. So they are looking at it and, you know, so they are, but the one thing he did say is that he's got a theatre in Peterborough, which has got 1,500 seats. He's got one in Barnstable, which has got about 700 seats, and one here that's got 500. He's having to bribe acts to come to Barnstable by letting them put on a show in Peterborough, because 700 seats don't really pay, so they're also getting, like a main production here with 499 seats is not brilliant, you know, you have got to, you know, it is what it is.
Laura?
This was brought up with North Devon Council officers probably around about October. This is probably what kind of led to it, and we did bring up about the services that the landmark will bring. Senior officers are having constant conversations with the landmark theatres to understand what's going on and what's happening. That's why we've now got a programme of work where the chairs are being repaired. So they've committed to investing into the building and actually getting them sorted out and fixed. With regards to the lighting down the seafront, obviously, every certain time you tell me, I email them, it goes back on, then it obviously doesn't. So I'll keep on top of that. But I have some good news. So all the negative to one side, the good news is that the 2 disabled parking spaces will have lighting on them because I've managed to finally get them to do it. So I take that as an achievement. Even if Devon County Council won't get the road lit, at least we'll get those 2 parking spaces lit. So after all the hassling, we're getting somewhere. So, but I'll keep on it.
So, positive news.
Positive
Okay,
news.
yeah, you're making a change.
There was a smile.
Positive thing, very well.
Yeah.
That's what we need. More sunshine and rainbows,
Exactly.
less dark alleys.
So, thank you for that. Right, moving on to item 6, to approve and adopt the minutes of the last full council meeting on the 12th of January. And any updates on actions taken from the previous minutes? Anything or matters arising before I propose them?
No, nothing that I don't think isn't going to be brought up at this meeting or I've just told you about. Oh, outside of the bus shelter, as I emailed, I think everybody afterwards, after Councillor Elliott mentioned about the one on St Brannock's Road by Bickleston Park, that Devon County Council are committed to doing that one. So I'm just chasing up the supplier. So to get an idea on date.
That's good. So I'm going to propose that we adopt the minutes of the last full council meeting. Going to get a seconder? June, all in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions? No, good. Right. Item 7, minutes of the planning committee meeting, to know and improve recommendations, 19th of January. Councillor Williams.
Thank you very much. I present you the minutes of the planning committee meeting. There wasn't much, in fact, there was only one item to be discussed. The others were to know only, so we got through the meeting quite quickly. I'm sure you've all read them, so I will leave it at that, and hopefully you will note them for me.
You noted, thank you very much. Item 8. Minutes of the devolution and LGR meeting, 26th of January, councillor Crabb.
Oh. We had a meeting which veered between lengthy discussions and administration, and we formulated a list of items which we thought we may express some interest in. There was, as I mentioned before, there was some disappointment in the way that district councils go about it, but in fairness to them, they've got, in one of the presentations, they've got a spreadsheet up, which is all the things that they have to do before LGR, and selling stuff to councils or giving stuff to councils is not one of the things they have to do. So it made perfectly clear in that meeting, this was like, very much not a priority for them, but you know, they're playing on. So our group has created a list, which you will all be admiring shortly, and you either vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, you either agree with us or say what a load of nonsense, but that's where we are with, that's where the list of, that's with district assets, isn't it?
Yes, it's only North Devon Council assets. So
Yeah.
we have to have a decision in by Wednesday. All of these expressions of interest have to be in by the 12th, which is
Yeah.
Wednesday.
This isn't a commitment.
Thursday. No, this is just to say we're interested in them. Once we're done, what if they come back and start negotiating, then we can start looking at business cases and doing it on, you know, a much more formulated plan. The assets that we've listed, I have circulated to you. They include the allotments in general. The idea of what the devolution group suggested is taking assets that generally are a bit cost neutral to us at this point, and whether that opens up a conversation further down the line to something that's potentially not cost neutral, but at least it will start that ball rolling. And it's not going to then, because we've obviously already agreed our precept and our budget, we don't have the room or the negotiation at the moment to kind of budget for anything that's going to cost us money. So we've gone with the list as I sent to you, which was the allotments, potentially Brimlands Rugby Club. Sorry, bear with me as I flick through them because I have them all here and I have sent them all out to you. The next one I've got is the land at Cow Lane. So shout if anyone has got any questions. The land at the north end of Slade Valley Road, which is a bit just a ransom strip as far as I'm aware. The seating at Ilfcombe High Street near Lewis Court, which is the one just along here on the High Street next to what used to be Jeffrey's newsagents. The parking area, picnic area at Heggington Hill, so that's the one as you come in from Watermouth at the top, which has got the viewpoints. Sorry, some of them are 2 pages, some of them not. Slade Valley Community Centre, this is the only one that potentially would have some financial implications, but it is currently running, it has its own bank account and it's been sustainable for a number of years, and we generally administer it anyway, from doing the finances, and we also do all the bookings. So we've got, that's that one. The land below Larkston Terrace, which is the land, the easiest way I can describe it is the bit where the Soapbox Derby is to the left-hand side where everybody sat and watched the Soapbox Derby as it went down the hill. The only 2 that I obviously haven't created, well, I have created expressions of interest on, but I haven't formulated them to send out to you for agreement, is because we had a new list come through from North Devon Council, and one of them was to do with a promenade, and the other one was to do with Victoria Pleasure Grounds and Promenade. And what I need to know and establish from yourselves as a group, because when I asked what exactly that entailed, I got sent a picture drawing of, as you've seen on the email, it's the entire bit from the Clapping Circle, from Wildersmouth Beach Wall, from the Clapping Circle right to where the espresso bar is, to include where the toilets are, would include the pigeon putt area, would include where the bouncy castles are, and would include the playground. Now, we as a council need to decide what expression of interest you actually want me to put in. I've gone back to North Devon Council and said, if the title shows as that, does that mean that that is not negotiable and that we can take parts of that and not all of it? And they've said, yes, we can. So if we wanted just the promenade, or I don't know which one's called which, if we didn't want the pigeon putt, we didn't want the playground, and we didn't want the bouncy castle area, but we wanted the Clapping Circle, and we wanted the down to public conveniences, which obviously we're on, we could do that. That's an option.
I would say
The same.
you sure you go for it all, because of both of those, that actually goes against their rule too, because there's a fair chunk of rent.
Potentially, this is the conversation to have, but I mean, when we were initially talking about it at the devolution meeting, we hadn't included those other bits, we'd only included that strip. So I'm happy to put that forward. Obviously, if we put that forward, that includes that playground, which means there's obviously, we'd have to consider that that's potentially going to cost us some money, and we'd have to inspect it and various things. And we'd have to question that boundary wall with Wildersmouth Beach. Do we want it? Do we not want it? Those type of things. So I can put the expression of interest in for all of it, and then we can negotiate potentially. I mean, as we said, we're not tied to anything.
No.
but I just wanted to get your point of view on that. The other one that the reason I didn't send it through was to do with BMX, or what they referred to as the BMX track. So when they sent their list through, the next list, they put it down as the land at Hillsborough, including Larkstone car park, the pitch and putt, and the BMX track. When they refer to BMX track, what they're talking about is the skate park. When I asked for a map of that, that included the water sports centre, included Larkstone Beach, it included all of Hillsborough, it included the swimming pool, it included the swimming pool car park, it included, so it was literally Hillsborough cut in half and everything on it. So from the plans, that's not feasible. We don't need to obviously look to take all of that or even try, because I then went back and questioned and said, well, you've listed that plan as at least 3 to 4 assets on your list. So what, you know, we can be specific on what we want to take, and we can create maps and send the maps with our expressions of interest. As I said, like I said, this is just expressions of interest. So I just need to gauge from you as a council that you're happy with the ones that I've sent through as expressions of interest, that you can give me direction on what you want me to apply for with regards to those other 2. My point of view for the BMX track one would be to almost put an expression of interest in with the wording as they've got it in there, because it has the word car park in it. And if you were to develop what my expression of interest would look to try and do is to try and explain that with the skate park, though we do have some form of management within it, there's the potential that we could take the land next to it and put a BMX track in. The car park could potentially fund that project, which would then create more of this leisure and outdoor facilities for the youth, which we've already done a small amount of consultation on through IRB. Over a year and a half ago, I think, and obviously through the Ilfracombe Futures group, I'm sure there's been that conversation of kids not having enough outdoor space, that we could potentially kind of use that as an idea. But now it's down to you to tell me what you want to do.
Right, time was first.
I think we'd be crazy not to put that on the list, to be fair. It's everything you just said, basically. If we don't control it, we don't want someone next to controlling it, so I think we should at least inquire and see what's going on.
Councillor Elliott.
Laura, I thought we weren't allowed to have anything, an asset that made money, so the car park.
I said it goes against rule 2, isn't it?
But it does, but what they've put in this subsequent, this is why I kind of put this through, and it's going to come back as a negotiation. They're either going to say yes, no, or maybe let's take this out or not. But when they sent this particular spreadsheet through, I was just a bit like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because you could get rid of the skate park, but you're including it with the car park. So do we try and put it through and see if we can get obviously the conversation started? And then do we try the same with the pleasure grounds and the promenade? I mean, we might open ourselves up that we end up with having a playground, which will cost us money, but then we do have the income generating from the others. And I would be keen to try and obviously get the site that the toilets are on rather than leasing them. Potentially we could include that. And my only downside and real bit that I'm worried about is having the wall, although that is the one wall that has actually been fixed.
Councillor Newland.
Couldn't you argue that the car park could subsidise or pay for the BMX track, so effectively
Yes.
all of it is procedural?
Yeah.
And we're also looking at Google Earth on that bit where the seawall is by the Clapham Circle. It's actually mostly rock, it's not necessarily seawall with nothing below it, it is mostly rock. I think it's probably one of the safer parts of the wall.
And I think that's the one that's had the most recent engineering work done to it. So if you're going to take it.
It's on the spreadsheet doesn't necessarily mean you get it, because I know it's Ilfracombe Pier on there. I suspect that they would probably fight back against that.
Potentially, I don't know. This is where it's very, very ambiguous as to what any of these things mean, because what they've got on the asset list, what they've got on their title deeds and on their maps don't necessarily correlate. So and then I'm not getting the answers back, which I understand officers are going to be absolutely inundated between now and Thursday. So
well, I'll actually propose that we amend those 2 issues there that are painted yellow for the reasons that we've outlined.
and agree to put into those.
Is Capstan on the list?
Capstan is on the list, yes.
It's not included in the promenade bit.
No, Capstan is, Capstan Hill, Capstan Parade. We did discuss it, and I don't think it's something I would
It's about
recommend.
50 yards high, they've got a wall around the back, isn't it?
And I don't think, we wouldn't be able to financially support
It's classic.
that if anything was to happen to it, so, it wouldn't be a recommendation.
No. I think we can museum on there, you, as well as, you know.
Yeah, I mean, all this is the starting point.
It's just a start, it's literally
I
a,
can kind of say go for it and then
see what
down the
happens.
line.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a proposal at the moment, councillor Crabbe.
So just to be clear, that proposal is to accept the expressions of interest that you've already seen. I will obviously, because you are the chair of devolution, and potentially mark yourself if I share the last two before I send them through on Thursday, just in case that.
Yeah.
That you then take the last two will be as per highlighted on the spreadsheet
Yeah.
for the last two assets.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So we have a proposal, I'll second that. All in favour? Anybody against? Abstentions? Good. We'll have all that one.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Right, moving on to item 9, minutes of staffing committee meeting held on the 26th of January. Minutes have been distributed, 2 items to discuss, 9.1. To agree the proper officer role be moved to the local government pension scheme commencing the 1st of April. We have discussed this in the past. We have to put one person on it because we can't afford to pay 300,000 or whatever it is to get out of the scheme, so it's easier and cheaper just to enrol one person. We have decided staffing that it would be the proper officer. We have discussed this before, but I'm not sure we actually came to a conclusion, so I'm proposing that we make proper officer role LGPS client from the 1st of April. That's my proposal. Can I get a second? All in favour? Anybody against? Right, good. Welcome to the pension scheme.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. 9.2, to agree the job description that was circulated with the agenda for the future community officer role.
Well, that one we're going to need to defer because I don't think it did get circulated. Unfortunately, Steve's away. So if council is happy, we'll defer that to next staffing and to next full council.
All right, we'll defer that. Right. Sure, I read that.
I think you might have read a draft. I don't think it went out final.
All right. Not unusual, I dream all sorts. Right, moving on to agenda item 10, minutes of the Finance and General Purposes meeting held on the 26th of January. Trevor Huggins is away, so
Councillor Quinn is deputy. Is there anybody else who?
Six.
Yeah.
we did have a
It's
report.
fine, I can run through it. Okay, well, if I run through the recommendations from it, so, or Carol, you can start with the financial ones.
Yes, so the first one was, it was agreed by the F&G committee that, they would accept the new financial regulations for Ilfracombe Town Council. These were all sent out to everybody, before the last F&GP. It was just the changes to get us, up to speed with some of the legal changes. So there were a couple of sections that were in yellow that we'd updated. So we just need to bring that to you and ask for your approval.
Yes, I'll suppose that. Can I get a second? Councillor Crabbe, all in favour? Anybody against? Well, we're good. Right.
That's great. I will get that circulated with the right pictures and headers, etc. The next one was
Risk assessment.
risk assessment. I've completed the financial risk assessment. This isn't the full management one. And apart from one red action, which is to update data protection policy, the rest of the, risk assessment was seen as being satisfactory. So it was asked from F&GP to bring it to full council to approve that, risk assessment with the action to do with data protection policy in it. So I need somebody to propose and second that.
Councillor Crabbe's proposing, I'll second. All in favour? Any against? No, good, done.
Regardless. It was about British Gas, Carol,
Oh,
10.3.
Yeah, British, we went to put on, the, supplier for electricity for the High Street car park. It was a company called Tomato Energy, and it was transferred over. Unfortunately, they went bankrupt before Christmas. Ofcom, the supplier of last interest, interest is British Gas. I looked into other suppliers. For a year, actually, British Gas is the cheapest to supply our electricity to the High Street car park. That was brought to F&GP, and it was agreed to bring that for approval to yourself. So it's just to approve that we get British Gas contract for a year.
We get a proposal for the British Gas, Mark Newland, seconder. All in favour? Against? Good, done.
And the next one's mine. Well, CCTV, I think the general consensus was, we can have it or we can't, we don't. It was a substantially higher quote than we anticipated. We don't have CCTV in any of our other car parks, and F&GP felt that at the moment we would not renew it and not get it put in at this point. So that's the recommendation.
Okay. Does it not make any difference that it's permit holding parking?
System.
No, it's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Can I just ask a question? I know people who use it are reassured by having CCTV. Would it make people use it less?
There's a risk of that, but I think the risk versus the cost that we had come through, which was completely out of budget. It is something we can revisit in the future, but for the interim, we just don't have the budget available for it because we haven't budgeted that substantial increase. We had a budget for it as part of the car park, High Street car park plan. But this has exceeded it by an extra £2,000. So we're looking at about £4,000 cost. And at the moment, it's just deemed, let's see how we go. And at the moment, we'll just leave it as is. And then if we need to revisit it, we will.
Will it be made clear to users that
Yes,
there's no
it will go on.
CCTV in place?
Well, there
Well,
is
what do
still
we-
three.
Yeah. So that's still in place.
Yeah.
I would say the very fact, I mean, we're not taking cameras down, I mean, there is a certain amount of intelligence by the cameras being present, isn't there? I wonder if you advertise about these don't work anymore, that's counterproductive, I would have thought. I'm not saying what I'll advertise, but just, it's change too much.
What's the coverage of the ANPR ones?
The whole car park.
The whole car, so we have actually got CCTV.
There is CCTV.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Okay. I propose that we get it then.
so why are we doubling up with two?
Because the ANPR is not designed as a CCTV system, they're designed as they're just there to monitor for if you don't pay your car parking.
Yeah.
So
Do we have access if something happens?
we could speak with the company and
So I'm going to propose then that we do not accept the CCCB quote and go right down to seconder. Mark Newland, all in favour? Against? Abstentions? Abstention?
Okay, 10.5, this, I've circulated this report round to you all, which was on behalf of councillor Huggins in relation to the High Street car park loan arrangements. He's explained it quite succinctly in it and has put through the motions, he's put through two motions. One is that the full council instructs officers to exercise ITC's existing option of a 50-year PWLB loan immediately. On the second motion is that the full council instructs officers to seek a new 1-year loan that can be actioned in time for repayment in June of the Merseyside Fire Service loan in June. So I'm presuming and hoping that everybody's read that. Quite an important report.
I've read them, but it doesn't recommend one or the other, does it?
No, that's unfortunately, you have to take that on your own merit, really, on
So
which
I think to
option.
make sure everybody's playing on a level playing field, we have a, well, how do we feel? Yeah.
I think, well, you have to look at where we are. I think the current PWLB is
Interest rates.
6.08.
6.23 the last time I looked last week.
Right,
It
So-
actually went up from the report.
it's up, and there's a certain amount of instability in markets anyway at the moment. And there is an anticipation that it's gonna hit the fan. So that's not gonna get better for a while. I would suggest if we start, I mean, probably speak to Adam and see what he recommends, but my gut feeling is that you go again with a much cheaper temporary loan. But again, the interest that you would have paid off the capital had you gone with the debt management office, I think that needs to be sat somewhere there in a suitcase, so that when we do go over to a debt management loan, assuming that does happen, we're not borrowing anything like 935, we're borrowing whatever the 40,000 we saved, and this, that, and the other. So that the actual eventual loan is, for example, 872,400 quid, something like that. We've got to be paying this capital off, otherwise we'll be 50 years down the line and we'll still owe £1 million quid.
Right, so let's do to everyone, sorry.
I mean, I don't really understand all this, but I was nervous the first time when we went for this 1-year loan. It's not something I would have.
No,
I don't like risking public money.
it is and it isn't. So what you're doing is that the 50-year loan that we can get, we will still get that. No matter what happens, we will still get that. What we're trying to do is obviously not pay at 6.23, which is spending public money from now until for 50 years at that interest rate.
But it might go up in that year, mightn't it?
It might do. The prediction was it's due to come down. The 5% was what we budgeted for it to do. So we are to a certain degree slightly gambling with it. We are getting at the moment the rate that we're getting with the 1-year loan was 2% less, so it was at 4.35. So though we are taking that, we're still paying off that interest. We're still making the difference. Does that make sense? We're not spending what that difference was, and we're earmarking that difference to reduce what we're eventually going to borrow from the PWLB. And that £20,000 will come off of what we eventually borrow from the Public Works Loan Board. So we effectively aren't. Don't know how the right word
All the
is.
20 won't, the balance
The balance between the two.
5% budgeted.
Yeah.
I think the argument of locking in now to the high interest rate for 50 years is not in the public's best interest for us to spend that money. So,
But what about in a year's time, you lock into an even higher? Were you anticipating that it would be lower when this year's one came to fruition?
you're basically buying 1 year at a time at a lower rate, and hoping that the long term matches it. And if it doesn't in the short term, you just keep going until it does. I think that's the strategy, isn't it? But,
I just agree, as long as we're putting the capital part in the bank somewhere, ready to knock off whatever we agree again. I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So I think what we've got is a sort of model, which is to go for another short-term loan, so it's probably most efficient for people to argue against that rather than general discussion, so. That's sort of the model by default, talk against it by all means, so that we can decide. Because at the end of this conversation, we will choose a short-term loan or the long-term loan, so. And you'll be asked to vote, so if anybody's thinking about a long-term vote, the long-term loan now, speak up.
Well, I prefer the security of knowing that we pitched it as it is now. I'm not a financial markets expert, but
Yeah, no, we all get to, vote and choose, that's fair, so, any other points to raise to take in that loan now? So,
Is there any reason why we can't keep doing this year after year after year? Doing 1 year short-term loans if they are at an interest rate which is less than what public board is.
yeah, well, that's my understanding, you can do it until you
You
decide.
could, what you're doing, sorry.
Yeah, so,
What you're doing, there are current learnings with the Merseyside Fire Brigade, I think it's the Fire Brigade pension fund, is it union?
No, 5.
Fire Brigade. So it's their pension fund, they'll be looking, if you borrow money, the rate's up there, if you're investing money, the rates are normally down there, and the difference between them is what gives bankers big bonuses. So what's happening with the Merseyside Fire Service is instead of investing in a bank to get their pension interest rate out, they're investing with us, and we're paying them better interest in a bank, but lower interest than we pay if we borrowed money from the bank ourselves. So it's peer-to-peer lending, I guess, in a funny sort of way. The Merseyside pension fund would not really be happy about giving us a particularly long-term loan, because the whole point of the bank investing money in the bank is it's short-term capital. So if they, if they had a big payout that they needed to make next year or something, they'd have the confidence of knowing that they could make it. You may find some groups, I mean, you've got a really big pension fund that might be happy to go for a longer period. But what we're trying to do, we're trying to arbitrage the difference between what you pay to borrow from the bank, save from the bank, and then we're closing that, there's a word for it, closing that bridge, there you go.
so how long is the offer of public works loan run for?
The particular offer that we've got runs out in about 2 months, something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a particular offer, but we've got all the documentation, which gets you an approved loan. So we've done everything we needed to do for the DMO to be happy to offer it a loan. So what we would need to do, if we decided, right, well, in 3 years' time, we're going to go for a 46-year government loan instead, we'd resubmit the paperwork, freshen it up, re-update it. But I mean, it's not like a bank, you're not going to get turned down. If you're a local authority applying for a loan for an authorised reason, which is what we've got, then you will get it. So you've got that security you can always fall back on. I think what you're looking to do, you're looking to buy security. I can see where you're going. And it's an argument, it's a valid argument, it's relatively time. But it does cost you, that security is costing you, or would cost you 20,000 a year. So it's
Well,
it's 60 is against 40.
20,000 this year,
Sorry?
20,000 this year,
Yeah.
not every year.
Well, it's yeah, you see what the figures come back.
yeah, so any more thoughts?
Paul touched on that earlier, but the markets, they're not looking good over the next month or so. I think we've got to buy another short-term loan and see what happens, because anything could happen. That's the truth. Yeah, and I could see the market doing the same again next year, but in the long term, it's the best option. Yeah.
The reason we're having to make the decision, just to be clear, the reason we're having to make this decision now is because approval for the PWLB loan runs out in May, but our repayment to the 1 year loan that we've had runs out in June. So we've got this a few months where I either have to go for the PWLB and then pay back the other one from it, or vice versa. So that's why this decision has to be made at this point, so.
there any more points to raise for clarity from anybody? If not, I'll bring it to a vote, so we have two proposals, short term, long term. Yeah, so let's start up with, or should we just pick the first one? But I'll propose that we take the short term loan. Do I get a second up for that? June, all in favour? Against? Two against, right. Do I need to do the second one to record the vote or?
No, because you've got, your motion's been passed.
Yeah, okay.
10.6.
Weed Ripper.
Yeah, just to, this came from F&GP, we discussed about the weed ripper and the fact that it's been budgeted into the 26-27 budget, but the team had asked for it prior to April, if possible, to obviously tie in with the spring clean. So what has been agreed at F&GP is that the money that for that weed ripper would come out of reserves very temporarily until April, and then it would be repaid back into reserves. So, but I just need it formally agreed, slightly retrospective.
Be a proposer for the weed ripper. Newland, seconder. Elliott, all in favour?
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a weed ripper.
Shall I just keep going?
Keep going.
Right, 10.7 is just to review, to try and set up an insurance review working group, if possible, please. Our insurance policy is come to the end of its 3-year lifespan. We need to renew it. We've been with Zurich for a number of years. The actual policy itself has got quite a few things that need to be addressed. I think I highlighted it last time. I think I've got numerous yellow post-it notes that are questions. But this is not my area of expertise, post-it notes. So I'm asking the council if a working group could be set up with people who understand insurance slightly better and can help me through the process, really, to make sure that we get the best offer. It doesn't need to be big working.
Yeah. Counting on that one.
You're both on it.
No, well, no, as long as council's happy, so Mark, anyone else? So it's not just not Andrew. Okay, I'm happy if it's just us. Right, I will tie up with you. Thank you very much for offering.
Yeah, good stuff. 10.8, the bandstand.
Right, we've been backwards and forwards on the bandstand licence. I think F&GP, we went through it finally. The only thing that didn't go through was an idea of what our event agreement would potentially say to cover ourselves, so that we are just the people that book the events. We are not the ones that have to do all of the clearing up and having all the risk assessment. So it would have to be part of that process that whoever booked the bandstand for an event had to abide by the certain rules. So it's basically to accept and agree the licence, and that you're happy with the draft event agreement that was part of the pack, so that we can move forward and take that on. And the only discrepancy on the event agreement is about the insurance, which obviously I've highlighted in yellow, but that will be clarified hopefully from those who understand insurance and the insurance working group.
I was, I can see, I suppose it's necessary, which is, I've just got visions, and I don't know whether it was fudge or whatever, but if you think of, what was she called, Anne, who was like hovering around with 20 quid here and 20 quid there to try and get someone to go and play a bit of music on a Sunday. She has retired, but will you ever get someone to replace it, Anne to replace, if you're going to make her do all that every time? I don't know.
Oh, no.
I know it needs doing, but it's just, it's disappointing that the world's going, isn't it?
I think rather than us approaching people to be playing there, I'm hoping it will go the other way, that if we advertise it, we will get people to approach us. Otherwise, if it's going to be an averagely free bandstand that anyone can sit in.
Councillor Newland.
I think we should offer at least some sort of generic risk assessment for it.
Yeah.
And people who are organising these events, they might not actually know how to do a risk assessment or how to record it.
Yeah.
Just a generic one for them to modify and amend would be, just a template even would be really good.
That can be done.
That's brilliant.
So we have responsibility if somebody does hire it and doesn't follow the guidelines and it's an absolute mess.
Yeah.
We'll be enforcing that.
Well, by them signing the agreement theoretically, and that we could charge them the cost of doing it.
Yeah.
We're always gonna run that risk, that's part of it, but that's kind of the idea of having that agreement in place, that if you were to book it, you agree to those rules. Same as booking the room in the Lantern.
So we get a proposal for the bandstand license agreement? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
second, yeah, sorry, Terry, all in favour? Again? That's good. We've got a bandstand to go with the week about.
Right,
And funnily enough, it's the report from the pepper officer.
most of those meetings about me talking. Right, just hopefully you've read it all. At the moment, the nursery, I'm no further forward, but we have got a lot of conversations going on in the background, and I've got a meeting with them next week, so I'm hoping that that will be the final push to try and get some conversation moving. Obviously devolution and LGR and clusters, I've tried to break it down into smaller bits. Obviously, the consultation is out at the moment. We are pushing that. So if you want to fill that in, please. Obviously, I understand that there are 9 questions for 2 of the proposals and 11 questions for all the others. So unless you've read them all succinctly, I'm not really sure how you're going to be able to do that consultation thoroughly. Clustering at the moment, I presented to the devolution group an engagement piece that we're going to do to try and start clustering with other parishes and town around us. I forwarded that on to North Devon Council, and as of yet still have had no input. So having spoken to the other town clerks, we're going to wait until hopefully towards the end of this week, and we will send it out ourselves if need to be, because we can't keep waiting for promised officer time that I'm not getting. Defibrillator, obviously I've just put in a bid for one, so we'll see if we get that. Phone box, I'm not even going to talk about what planning have asked me for. I'll discuss that with Matt Brown when I see him. We have sent a letter off to Father John Rolls to say thank you for his time and everything he's done for Ilfracombe. So, and it's a shame that we've lost him, and I'm not 100% sure who his replacement is. Actually, I haven't met them.
Not coming for a while.
Not coming for a while, so that's going to be interesting when it comes to your civic events. So we'll wait and see what happens there. And then grants, obviously, but please be aware that obviously the grant process is open. So please get anybody that you know to put in their applications. They've got to the end of this month. And then we'll put a grants committee together for March.
Got anything on links into that's different what's written as you're going to cover it next?
Cover it in Steve's report. I'll be Steve as well. Shortly. Any other questions?
Well, it's not really a question, but
Yeah.
all those options that are on the table, I can't understand them all.
I can't, neither
don't
can I.
know how the public is going to penetrate to can't answer that.
No, it's a difficult one. I don't know either.
And not only saying,
We did-
what's the benefits or downsides of each one?
Well, we did mention this at one of the steering groups that I've got with Dan for LGR, and I've got a meeting with them on Wednesday, and I will see whether or not what we suggested of DALC, and I don't know if they've got the capacity to be able to do it or if they're going to do it, was to try and put in simple layman's terms an outline of what each of those agreements kind of meant. But I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, so I won't know until Wednesday. But if I do hear anything, and if they have got any feedback, I'll feed it back. But
Are they having any consultation events where that can be explained, that all those different options? No.
Not outside of what they've already done, and some of them I wouldn't call it necessarily consultation.
I think you can submit an organisational response as well, is that the intention of town council, for example?
It's up to town council if anyone, or if the devolution group want to put it in. I think we've got until March, 26th of March, so we could consider that.
It might be easier.
Can we put it on the agenda?
Yeah. We can do that. That means we'll have to start reading.
Try.
Right, I know, yeah, some of them are 300 pages long, so I do understand you losing the will to live at least at page 26. Yeah, I know. No, it's hard work.
Right, okay, so are you done?
I think so, yes.
About the councillor champion roles?
Okay, yes, so I sent out an email to you all to explain what councillor champions we have and what we haven't. The reason I've raised this is that we did have a meeting, unfortunately I wasn't able to be at it, but with councillor Newland and councillor June Williams. And I think that they've agreed between them potentially, if I'm not mistaken, that they would share business tourism and marketing champion role. So I wanted to highlight whose names were down against what we already had. If that was, if everyone was still quite happy, or if anybody wanted to make any changes. And then I also wanted to highlight that there is the potential for these other 4 roles, which is the potential health, culture, environmental, and ASB champion. Now, at the moment, the ASB side of things, Neil's kind of highlighted that because there is the ASB steering group that is happening at the moment, and I know that June, I think you've been to one of those meetings. Sarah, I think did you go to them occasionally?
There's one coming up.
Yeah, I think there is. But whether or not anybody wants to potentially take on that role, if anybody wants to let go of any of the roles that they've currently got, culture is something that is growing exponentially, as Charmaine will highlight. She had her meeting today with 30 attendees, which is more than I can get to many meetings. So that's obviously growing. So if there was somebody who was interested in culture and wanted to go, you know, support that group and the work that they're doing, especially as we are putting in a bid for
UK Town Culture 2028.
there we are. So that is already in the process of being worked on. So I'm putting it out there for councillors to consider or put their hands up and forward.
Right.
Do these normally get reviewed every May?
Potentially every May, yeah, we can bring them up as part of the meeting, but I just wanted to kind of refresh them, kind of put those things out there if anybody wants to do. The culture and ASB are kind of things that are happening at the moment, so it would be quite good to fill those before May. But obviously, you know, if anyone decides that they want to teach me about biodiversity through environmental champion, I'm very happy, because again, it's not an area of expertise, but it's probably something we could be working on. That type of thing, for instance. So.
Only volunteers would be vacant positions. Or?
Well, as we've got councillors that aren't present at the moment, you never know if that's one of those.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'll be brought back in May, but if there is anything in the interim that anybody wants to drop out of or wants to engage with, please can you let us know?
I was under the understanding that me and councillor June Williams were actually in the cultural champion together.
Well, no, we don't, we're actually champion.
I think you
I was at the wording champion. I try and get to as many club meetings, coach, as I possibly can. Obviously, I couldn't get to every one of them, but you know, I do try and sit on, even though culture obviously is not my forte. You know, so if there was anybody that felt that they would fit in, then I'm sure Charmaine will welcome their support.
Well, perhaps if this issue was actually emailed out to council saying, right, we want the jobs filled by May, last one to step backwards, ends up doing the job. I mean, it's it needs, I mean, you know, there could be I mean, the ASB thing is quite challenging,
Yeah,
and the culture thing, I can imagine being quite enjoyable, much the same way as those two roles are in real life, I would have thought, but,
yeah. I mean, there's scope with this to do what you want with it. With the champion role, is you can do as little or as much as possible as you want to do. It's not fixing you into having to do 30 hours a week. I mean, that's unrealistic.
No.
But if you can help, I mean, obviously, if you bear in mind the fact that as officers, we are dealing with all of these subjects every single day. To have somebody who can then maybe attend a certain meeting that we can't necessarily get to because we have other commitments or, you know, we have other things going on. It's that kind of, and you are the elected members of the town, so it is kind of something that would be good that if you are supporting your town in a specific area, it is something you could get your teeth into and better Ilfracombe in whatever the subject it is. So just put it out there, so.
Okay, well, probably at this point in time, we'll refer to May,
If not sooner,
in the background.
but in the interim, am I all right to say that the two of you are happy to share that role?
Yeah.
Because obviously I appreciate it's quite a large role being the three put together.
Yeah, it is.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Right, so that's done, so. RFO report, thank you, Karen.
So you've had a view of my report. Just to explain on the account sheet, there's nothing under the strike. That was because I was waiting for the amount that would go in January. That came through this morning. I think it was about 600 and something. Strike is takes the payment for our Pod Point payment. So people using EV chargers. So it's the reimbursement, it goes through Stripe and then eventually ends up in our business account. So that's where I see anything there. The other thing I thought you might raise is obviously that our VAT repayment this month is quite high. That is because we have sold so many of the chain beach permits. So I think thank you to Bell and the team on research. They've really worked hard at getting those sorted out. The budget is as it is. One of them's pink and it should be green. That is obviously Chain Beach. So we've made more than we anticipated in terms of the budget, and we've spent less out on the budget. So that should actually be completely green, that one. The lantern is my only one that I've got some reservations about because we have spent a lot in the lantern. Mostly it's been for getting it up to press, because obviously when the nursery moved down, there was a lot of work needed doing to make sure it was all okay. But we have plenty in our reserves to sort that out, and I'm currently working through the reserves. We've also made quite a lot of money in other areas that we can jiggle around a bit. So I am not overly worried that we are then 20,000, well, it's 19,000 arrival around term, because I did expect that. But other parts of the budget are really good, so we'll cover it, and we should be coming in at the end of the year on track with our budget. In terms of our outstanding customers, I have contacted them all, and I have had responses from NDC, they've paid up, SWPS have paid up, and so has CD. Mr. Mako has contacted me, but he said he was going to sort it out. He hasn't yet, so I rang him again, emailed him again today, so I'm hoping he'll pay that this week. So there's only, I think, a couple of very small ones which we've sent postal reminders to, as well as the email reminder. And you have an addendum as well as the invoices of the payment. Is there any questions on any of those at all?
You're right.
Just to say the Blakewell one, that is the week after that. Mostly is the week of that. So it's already been collected, I believe. So I just need somebody to propose and second those payments, so I can make those tomorrow.
I'll propose, can I get a seconder? Really,
Terry.
all in favour? Against? Good.
So I will get those
Sarah?
paid out tomorrow. I think everything else has been already discussed, and just to let you know that I am working on the reverse portfolio at the moment, so what I'm looking at is obviously areas where we've not, we've brought in more than we expected and not spent as much as we expected, and looking at with Trevor where those might go, so that we can present the report as to whether they offset certain things or they go into reserves. Any excess goes into reserves for what in particular. So you will get a report very shortly on that.
Yeah. Right, item 13, programme manager report. Which?
It's me.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, so in Steve's absence, obviously you've had his report. I'm hoping that you've read, especially the beginning part of the report, which Steve has highlighted, which is a lot to do with the Link Centre. There's obviously, this is an ever-moving beast at the moment, and the position we're currently in is that we need to put a business case forward to Devon County Council. This afternoon I forwarded you, unfortunately I only received it today, so apologies for it being late. I've circulated a draft version of that report that Steve's put together. There are some decisions that council need to make, but I think we also need to try and move a bit swiftly with it. So I think at the moment, Steve's suggestion is to try and pull a working group together so we can just get that business plan. It's not a firm anything set in stone. If we send this off to Devon County Council, it doesn't mean we are guaranteed that we have to actually take on the Link Centre. It's just to get that viability across and to get the need across to them so that they can understand our position and where we are and why we feel that there is a requirement for it and who that requirement could potentially be. But also for them to understand the pitfalls that if we have to meet the criteria that they've already given us, and considering the amount of work that's required on the building according to their reports, it could very well be dead in the water before we've even tried. So if they're not willing to compromise or start that negotiation process. So that's where we're at. So I think at the moment, it's not on the agenda, so we can't make any final decisions on it. But what I would suggest is if we've got members that are happy to just be part of a small working group to try and get this over the line, and it would be quite quickly, unfortunately it won't be until next week now, because Steve unfortunately is off this week, quite short notice. So we would need to get it over the line for early part of next week potentially.
Is this something that full council would have to agree though, if we did a?
As we've agreed in principle to start working on a business plan, that had already been agreed through the F&GP. There's no financial implication required for it. I think if we got the working group together, there'd be enough knowledge there to decide whether or not we needed to call an emergency meeting of the council to make a decision on that before it went off to Devon County Council. But at the moment, I think we just need to be very clear as to what the options are. And his report that I've sent through, obviously I'm very conscious that it is quite a lengthy report, so it's going to take a bit of time to maybe digest it all. But please do read that, and if we can get a couple of people that are happy just to kind of sit around a table early part of next week to hash it out, that would be.
I've skimmed read it, and there's quite a few things we have to decide, isn't there?
Yeah.
We still keep going for a couple more.
Well, I think those are the decisions that working group can decide whether we need to make those decisions before we send it off, or whether we can send it off with the knowledge knowing we don't have to make that final decision to try and start that negotiation going before we have to make those formal decisions. That's what that working group needs to kind of come together to highlight and decide.
I'm happy to be part of it.
Yes, of course, yes, Sarah, yeah.
And it is all about, you're right, it's all about negotiation, that's everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. And
Not a commitment, but a negotiation.
just negotiate. I think if we don't start somewhere, we're literally going to be going around in circles for forever.
I'll volunteer,
Okay,
if you're interested in that.
is there anyone else that wants to put their hat in the ring? Obviously, I'll email out to all councillors, even those aren't present, so, and we'll set a date for early part of next week when Steve's back. And try and get it done.
Not June. So, not the 24th, that's not next week, is it?
No, it's the week after. I know, it flies by, but yeah. Thank you, so, so there's that. The second thing that is in the report, obviously, there's lengthy amounts of information and our officers are working extremely hard, as I'm sure you can appreciate, it's never ending pages. But there is one recommendation that Neil has brought to full council, which is to review and agree the recommendation for funding towards publishing of a town map as per the report. So if you look on page 49, the map there's a picture, a draft of that map. We've gone back to the IBTA and have made altered suggestions. Our logo will be more visible. We tried to get Liam Lincoln to be more visible within that map. I've said that I want, though we can't necessarily fit it into that map, I definitely want that signposting to Liam Lincoln to be better. But we've not spent anything out of our marketing budget this year. I'm conscious of the previous money spent and the relationship that we have with IBTA, so I just want you all to kind of decide whether or not you feel that this is something that we could take out of that marketing budget to support and have those maps printed. And they'd be printed locally, so.
So.
Where we've got.
Right, just quick, can you have an insert for Liam Lincoln, you know, like do for maths, but you can't, because there's a lot of grey at the bottom.
Yes, I know, and I did wonder about that, or even if it was on the flip side, I will question that, because I did feel a little bit, I didn't have much input on talking to them, but I do feel it is a little bit left out, and I don't want it to be.
Why are we going for paper maps when the whole world uses their phone? It just seems.
I don't know, I think, I know you said, and I appreciate that, and I do, and it will go on websites and things like that, but I do also appreciate that I like having a map that I can say, I might be the exception to the rule and a bit of a nerd, but I quite like having just something I can whip out my pocket. If I go to Watermouth Castle, I've still got the map that I'll go around with the kids. Not now, we're 17. But
Is it 25,000 maps?
25,000 maps, is it?
Yeah.
Printing of 500 pads, 50 double-sided.
There's probably going to be different housing developments by the time.
It is, well, I'm putting the request out there.
How much is it?
£1,305 and 73p.
Obviously someone, oh, sorry.
So where will the maps be distributed?
They'll be distributed everywhere, I mean, obviously to all service places, libraries, us, varying other places, it would go to all B&Bs, all the members of the IBTA that can have them, will have them. So, and they obviously have quite a wide remit nowadays.
Can we correct referee to 2 Ps?
You can read that? I've seen it, but in A3 and I didn't see that, yes.
I've just.
Oh, and Lantern, I think.
Doing well so far.
It's not a great thing on this evening, and I can see something like this is extremely useful, I suppose, but I was gonna ask where the drive, I mean, Neil's asking for it, and obviously Neil doesn't want to take these out, so someone's asked Neil, and I think you've answered that, the fact is, it's the IBTA want to,
Well, some of the North Devon Council has given the IBTA some money towards this as well, so it's not.
And the other thing is that it only showed 4 places on the map,
No, there's the actual one will have lots more of those places will be printed on the reverse side. We couldn't kind of show all of it. I can guarantee you what will happen is before any printing is done, we will get final approval on all of it. At the moment, final approval hasn't happened.
Town speech on here.
Just to say, the tunnels is on there, and we know it's not.
Yeah.
Public, so.
I think I would
Decide what to do about it.
prefer a smaller one rather than 25,000. If they have to be printed. Does it have to be printed locally? Yeah. We were thinking about-
Sorry. That's a local business, Mark.
Yeah, I think it would.
Okay, so where are we going with this? Is it, are we printing, not printing, or is it, we're printing?
I can
and
see
then-
some benefit. Shall I see what I do? I will bugger the whole system up by saying I would propose a budget of 1,000 to print as many as possible. There you go. Or if the IBT want to pump that money out, there you go. Well, that's my proposal. Amend it, fill your boots. I've not had a seconder yet.
No, can I just add something to this? Obviously, as members are aware, I'm the IBTA representative. And obviously, you know, I attend their meetings and I do appreciate the amount of work that the members of the IBTA put into schemes like this. You know, I wouldn't like to be, you know, decry all their efforts. You know, and I just feel, obviously, like Laura said, NGDC has given a very generous amount to the IBTA to support them for the next 12 months. And obviously they continue to look for us for support. And I just feel that this is a small effort in supporting their endeavours. And like we've already said, this will be going out not only to their members, but also to other organisations. And while I appreciate what Dan's saying about, you know, we can access things like this on Google Maps and things like that. I just do tend to agree with what Laura said, that it is nice to have a physical piece of paper in your hand. You know, I know when we went to Krakow, we had our phones, but we also had a physical piece of paper in our hands, which aided us to look around the area and see things that perhaps we wouldn't have seen if we just relied on Google. So, you know. All right, sorry.
Well, I think, the counter sort of argument is that chipping away at it is not one thing or the other, in my view, you know.
No, I go for it.
It's kind of like a little bit of disrespect to the IBTA. It's either yes, we're doing it, or no, we're not doing it, I think, you know, giving them a grand and cutting it down.
I often see people doing one of those, like tours around Ilfracombe where they got a bit of paper, they've got a tick off thing, like, for example, find where it says Bristol on the church tower down St James's. Is there any chance we could put something like that on the back of the map to encourage people to walk around to make the map a bit more work?
Adverts on the back aspect,
Well, no, I don't think that they are aiming to put adverts at the back. That's why I think that they're coming to us for that finance, because I think what they're trying to do is avoid having the adverts on the back to make it more about the information as opposed to about specific venues. I think they're trying to get a map that is going to be all inclusive and will highlight all of the areas that you could potentially go to, including potentially the tunnels that aren't open. But yeah, I think it is more of they're aiming at that more informative map rather than having one of those fold out maps that is.
Sorry, can I just ask, have we actually spoken to Paul and found out exactly what they proposed to put on the other side?
We're in discussions and we will have final say on whatever that is on the map.
Yeah.
Because if we're paying for this, it won't be passing us without approval.
If this map was online, it could be updated regular with changes. And you could print out coloured copies and hand them wherever the hell you wanted, and it would always be up to date. And if you wanted to print 500 coloured copies and stick them along High Street, that's fine, but it would be the current map. It just seems more sense to have a live map that's, I mean, I love the graphics of it, it looks great, but I just think a live map that had live changes, things if the tunnels was closed, you know, all these types of things. And then you can print out for 1,300 quid, you colour print as many as you want.
That's right.
Yes.
I did an event in the High Street, last week, trying to get people to fill out the library consultation, and, I had loads of people stop. About 70% of those people were older people who didn't access things online, and we get a lot of older visitors that come to Ilfracombe.
What I'm saying is that as a council, we could print all the IGT print. I'm not saying the old people need to print it. You know, the hoteliers could print it, anybody who wanted it could print it, and it would be live. It just seems silly to have one map.
But the-
Go out dates and you print it.
But the counter argument of that is you would send it to me, I print it, 5 minutes later I'd forget to print it, wouldn't have it, whereas these are notepads, they will physically be there to take off and to distribute. I think the concept, I understand, if you let me finish, I understand, but what I think is you run the risk then of everybody doing it for 5 minutes and not actually then continuing with that practice. I think it would then, you know, you'd be putting all this money into designing something they'll go on a website that, like Terry says, isn't accessible to absolutely everybody. I think we've got to look at it from different perspectives. I think you can't just expect that everybody's going to look at Visit Ilfracombe or the town council website. In fact, nobody looks at town council website unless they want to complain about something.
Under those circumstances, then, I'd withdraw my chivying cost-cutting measure then. If I'm just aware of our history of the IBTA, you know, and I know that but I take Councillor Williams' point that they've done a lot of work on this, so under these circumstances, I will not endeavour to cost cut and cut corners.
And I appreciate and I understand that relationship, and I'm very, very conscious of that before I make any suggestions to do anything. And that is why I literally have held on to that marketing budget with the tightest purse strings known to man. Because there is so much more we could be doing with it, but I think this isn't such a bad idea.
Yeah.
No, it's our new marketing person on board with it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it could be used, like you said, for other events, you know, it's, you know, if they go to the Devon County Show, for example, it's a marketing tool that they could give out. Sorry to interrupt, but.
Okay, so we put a proposal that we would accept this in paper format with the caveat that the proper officer will do due diligence.
That's it.
I'll do both.
Volume, you know.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. And by any question, and if
Yes.
you are satisfied with the answer, proceed.
Yes.
If you're not, do that. Yeah, so I'll propose it, and we second that. June, all in favour? We have maps to go with the bandstand and the weed grab out. Yep, good. Anybody against? Sorry, saw your hand there, Dan.
I'm gonna abstain because I'm
Staying.
I think a better way of doing it.
One,
Yeah, it's like.
all right, Steve, anything else?
No, I don't think so, unless there's anything you needed highlighting, Charmaine, as you're here.
No, I think it's a good thing for everyone to know that we're applying for the UK Town Culture bids. Obviously, there's nearly 1,200 towns in the UK, it's open to all of them. At the moment, from what I understand, the only other potential town in North Devon that's looking to submit an application is Barnstable, but we are leagues ahead. As it has to be, the leading applicant has to be a partnership. So obviously we have one else comes out to do that. And Barnstable haven't identified who we've gone for them yet. And also through the Culture Club, we've been working on the expression of interest since it was announced in November. So just in terms of timeline for that, we've got to get the expression of interest in by the end of March. And then we would find out who's been shortlisted in, I think it's July-ish sort of time. They're only shortlisting 10 towns. I was on a webinar and there were over 400 people on that one alone, so it will be hotly contested, but it's very much about celebrating the town where you live and the culture and how it's impacted the national kind of story. And we've got so many stories from Ilfracombe side, so it's all really exciting. I've just presented it at Culture Club and everybody's obviously on board, and there's yeah. We've got a decent chance, I feel. It's a strong narrative, so yeah.
Good. Thank you, Sarah. We have one bit that we didn't actually vote on as well. The new branding, ITC branding guidelines. We've got a nice little email, so.
Sorry, yeah, I
all we
know
could do
I've
is
been
this.
inundated you all with emails over the last few days, so I do apologise, but alongside that, Steve's obviously done another report about the branding guidelines and then has sent you the branding guidelines, obviously in digital format. I'm hoping you've read through them. Something that we kind of highlighted was that it's just been a bit of a mishmash with stuff all over the place and no distinct. I mean, outside of our logo, nothing really on our social media, nothing seems to kind of flow. So that's something that Cara was tasked with as her first port of call. So if you're happy and we adopt these, this is what you will see going forward with all of the communications from it of Coombe Town Council. And if you are to put anything together yourself, you will at least know where to put the logo and what not to make it look like, and various such.
Okay.
And I also really quite like the primary colours, and I think we can use that through the town as we go forward. Who knows, maybe bunting in yellow and green and blue.
I think
You're not having pink. Falmouth is pink.
This is I think it's the third time it's been read the book, isn't it? Because the first one was the Ilfracombe Centre with everything and ITC, these aren't randomly coloured this colour.
No.
These aren't branded. And there are various bits of signage around here and there that will probably match this colour.
Yeah.
And then of course there was the
Coastal Charms, yeah.
Charm, which was on the telly, don't knock it.
Yeah.
And that encouraged your father-in-law, your ex-father-in-law, to come up with his own version of brand.
I don't.
So by trying to get the colours in the branding document, by mixing beige paint with purple, something like
Yeah, I
that.
don't know, it was
A good match.
it was magnolia, purple, and I can't even remember the pale blue, yeah. I think the thing is you did have the Ilfracombe Centre branding, and I think that that's kind of been here for quite a while, but we've kept with the colours. We haven't kind of tried to sway away from the blue. The Curious Coastal Charm was about Ilfracombe as a whole, not the town council, so that was a much bigger piece of work. That is something I will be addressing in time, but not right this minute, because obviously Cara's only been here for 1 month, bless her, so I don't expect her to reinvent the wheel overnight. But I think this is just for us as officers. I think this is for our social posts. I think this is to start moving in that direction of getting us seen more and making sure we're consistent along with it. And we will be branching out into, the Instagrams and the, maybe not TikTok, but all of the other, some of you can do TikTok, all of the other types of social content that needs that identity going across the board. So that's why we've done this, so that it's less ambiguity and more constraints.
The branding as it stands as shared is what we're voting on.
Yes.
I won't get into the T drive because that's detailed.
No, unfortunately, I do apologise about that. Cara didn't realise that you don't have access to the T drive like we do.
That's all detailed. So as a group, a council, I propose that we adopt these branding guidelines. Can I get a second now? Newland, all in favour? Anybody against? No.
Can I all ask that you do what Cara's asked and change your signatures on your emails so it's identifiable as of Coombe Town Council? If you need any guidance or any help, please come and see us.
But aren't emails, aren't official, are they?
They are, because they're of coombe-town-council.gov, so they are official emails. Yes.
I've got a strip along the bottom, because with my title then automatically was more challenging. But the guidelines are approved as they.
Thank you very much.
Right, so.
Can I just ask you a quick question?
Yes. If it's about the map, no.
It says Neil's handling over the website, social media and marketing is Cara.
Yes.
Has Neil got a new role?
No. When we were looking at Cara's role, we identified the fact that Neil didn't have the capacity to grow it sufficiently. He was at maximum capacity with everything else that was going on. So when it came to staffing, that was the consideration, to take some of that away from Neil so he could concentrate on projects more, and on what he's already doing. So this is just expanded so that he can then concentrate on projects and Cara can expand on communications and grow that.
Description. basically, that's what his job description.
His job description is actually just project manager.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was, he's just been doing it. for-
He's just been doing the
That's it.
communications as part of his role, but so that's just moving away, that's all.
Yeah, he's been doing it.
Fine. That's good. So let's move on to reports from town councillors. Councillor Elliott was putting together a letter for us for the Ministry of Housing and local government.
Yeah, sorry, I thought, there must have been a misunderstanding. I thought I was just writing a proposal, but I think you wanted me to write a letter and.
Well, it would have just cut down any ambiguity, but it's fine if we can work around
All
that.
the
that's not a
bones are in
problem.
it. It's just a simple letter to our, and to publish the results of the consultation and push forward, put a bit of pressure.
Yeah, so last time around we agreed to pass this over to yourselves. You've drawn the bones up. Can we vote that the bones are sufficient to communicate? I'll propose it. Seconder, all in favour? Anybody against? No, abstention?
Okay,
Good, done.
Chair's discussion was covered, it was about devolution.
oh, okay, all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so reports from district and county council. Start with district.
Yeah, very rubbish. We looked at the budget and we're 70 grand inside the limit, so we spent 70 grand less than what we thought we would at this point. It might get worse, but it's looking good at the moment. The trade waste debacle, as you know, has been read and dropped about 4 times and has finally come to some sort of common together conclusion. The planning is in for the post office, which of course is the new flats and development in there. And Councillor Elliott's gone, but I don't know if she's aware that Councillor Lane is now building the community land trust site. It's through his vehicle, so Councillor Elliott and Councillor Lane will once again be having a happy partnership. That's gonna be good news. That's a bit it, really, on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something to it? The planning committee actually passed the plans for the post office.
Yes.
So that is in the process of being sorted. We've also had an application for the Roland's Fair to be on the seafront again this year. And that is from the 24th of July to the 31st of August. Just to let members know. Had a very interesting planning meeting on last Wednesday. As I say, the judicial review that was due to take place was cancelled, so I didn't manage to get to that, but hopefully we will have another date and I will endeavour to get to it. As you've already reported, the trade waste was reviewed and we are now collecting trade waste, but that's another story. And there is a planning reform going through. I won't bore you with the details. We had a very brief presentation on it prior to the planning meeting last Wednesday. The affordable housing, which obviously Councillor Elliott would have been interested in, is one of the items covered under it. So I would ask members if they wish to, if they have got any comments to make, and I think there's 245 questions, so I'm sure we would love to answer all of those. But you know, if you have got any comments that you wish to make and you've got time to read it all, then I would suggest that these are directed by the planning department and North Devon District Council, because they will collate all the answers and put them in a form for them to be submitted. Anyway, thank you. Oh, sorry, the ASCO meeting, I did need to go back on that one. I attended it, it was online, which made it life much easier. We did cover quite a bit about fake notes. I found it really interesting that our licensing officer, Paul, attended various businesses in Barnsley who accepted the fake notes, which was to his, you know, he was really surprised, so he feels that education is needed. But he did visit premises in Ilfracombe, who did not accept them, so I thought, well, one up on us. And, we also talked about the UK PAC, which myself and Neil and a few other businesses attended. There doesn't appear to be much take up on it, just to let members know that it's a scheme that has been covered by our dear Alison. She's covered the cost for the year up to November, that businesses can sign up to the UK PAC. And until November, they won't be involved in any fee. So I'm trying to encourage quite a few businesses to actually sign up. Unfortunately, there are two large businesses within Ilfracombe who do not wish to take part. And I believe that we are looking possibly to Mr. Mayor to give us a bit of a push in the right direction. One of which is a business that I work for. So, but there is another business as well, which we feel would benefit from joining the scheme. But at the moment, it's very negative towards it. But I'm sure that Neil will possibly, if not, has already spoken to you about it.
No.
Right, well, I'm sure he will. If not, I will speak to you myself, all right?
Okay.
Lovely, thank you.
I can bring my might to this discussion. Oh, councillor Wells.
Yeah, I sent round a report, if anyone's got any questions they can ask. We're obviously doing budgets like everyone knows at Durham County, so I put some details in there from the sector that I know most about, which is children's services, which is also one of the most expensive and the most important. And gets a 7.7% pay rise, so to speak. Obviously never easy, because there've got to be cuts and so savings made elsewhere. But I put in a little bit about what children's work is, because I think often it's easy to forget what county councils do for vulnerable people, adults and children. And obviously it's all very expensive, but children's services has been in special measures for some time, but recently Ofsted has started to see improvements in aspects of the service, which is really good. So that's also a main priority of Durham County, is to invest in children and young people, so hence the investment financially in that. Just to pick out a couple of other things, Watermouth Road is being resurfaced finally on the 2nd of March. I was a bit concerned to see that Openreach have applied to straight away afterwards work on the road, which was a bit worrying that they might give up immediately afterwards, but I've been assured that it's the pavement. So let's hope that they stay on the pavement. There's a working skills event on the 25th of Feb, which I'm sure most of you know about, up at the North Devon Resort, which is sort of culmination of the project that's been going on here. That's a collaborative one, which I'm going to go along to, so I recommend we'll go along to that, have a look at what's been happening. And what else? If anyone wishes to bang a drum to prevent the or to protest about, not prevent, the cuts to the library service, there's going to be a march to the library on the 14th of February, this Saturday at 11 o'clock, leaving Wilton Road car park. Because obviously Valentine's Day, love your libraries, and all that kind of thing. And finally, I forgot to bring it, but I've got some info about fostering, and I'm hoping that we'd be happy to put up a DCC poster, because they're trying to encourage more people to become foster carers in Devon, which is a big push this year. But I forgot to bring them, so hopefully no one.
There's something about the Tarka line.
Oh, that's chair's discretion.
Yeah.
Right, any other questions for councillor Lawson? Paul?
The library service, you've got a cabinet member, that you Lib Dem's going to get stuff through if the Greens give them supply votes. So you can stop that, if you speak to Jackie. You know, I mean, that's politics, but I mean, that is politics, you know, you can do that. And the other one that I was curious about, and this is a question you could ask in a children's meeting, because I could never get the answer. Up till 2020, most, like, part of the SEND budget is extremely expensive schools, and expensive, like you would not believe. In actual fact, there's a director of one in Ilfracombe who does very well, but we won't go into that. But the other huge money spent on this is transport. Up until 2021, it was perfectly adequate for everyone to get in about, I mean, Ilfracombe had about, I'm guessing, 5 minibuses run by pilots. And the system seemed to work. We were then told because of COVID, we were to migrate to taxis, which are about the same cost each as a minibus. And there's no COVID anymore. And yet we are still using taxis, there are no minibuses. It's a question worth asking, it's a big chunk of money.
Do you mean taxis for children going out of area to school?
All over,
Because
any
they
area,
cannot
in fact,
go to
there's
schools.
all sorts of things, but everything now is in a taxi, nobody gets in a minibus. And why is that? Because COVID's gone,
I don't know what you mean, nobody gets a minibus. There are minibuses that go.
very, very few.
Well, my husband drives one of them and there's a fleet of 5 just in the company that he drives for. And they all supply Ilfracombe Academy. There's quite a lot, there's a lot of school transfer, there's a lot of minibuses, and yes, there are.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I didn't know you were just talking about.
Yeah, no, all the SEND pupils used to be collected and delivered in minibuses. And then because of COVID, they said it would be taxis, but it's not gone back to minibuses. And if you've got a taxi fare, it's brilliant, but if you are trying to pay a SEND budget, it's a disaster. It's just, I mean, someone needs to mention it at children's. Please. Yeah.
Any more questions for Councillor Wilson? No, we're good, thank you. Right, so we'll move on to working groups and councillor champions. I think from Lee, Pat isn't here, but the report, any questions on Pat's report? Oh, duly noted, correspondence, licenses and notices.
None received in time.
Nope. Nothing there, chair's discretion. Which we have, 3, councillor Elliott,
First was covered.
it's covered
Yeah.
already, so councillor Wilson.
One, which I realise we can't act on because it's discretion, but I'm gonna raise it and then maybe we can do something at that time. It's just about the Talca rail line. There is obviously there's a campaign headed up by RMP to lobby for urgently for investment in the line, which has been underinvested in, desperately needs more frequent trains, longer trains, just a massive upgrade. And I use it when I can, loads of people use it, kids are using it to go to college. You might say it doesn't directly affect Ilfracombe, but I think a lot of people are commuting, it doesn't indirectly affect the wider Ilfracombe area, because when it's not running, there's no replacement bus service as there wasn't this week. The road, the link road, the motorway, everything was just much busier. So I'm proposing, or I can't propose, my in-house business is, can the town council add its voice to the campaign or the lobbying to get more investment in the line, because it affects our general economy in North Devon. And it's, you know, we jump up and down a lot about roads, quite rightly, because they're in a terrible state. But really the railway line, if we all had to use it every day, we would be making a lot more fuss about it.
Although we can't generally make a decision in a business, I do echo exactly what you're saying. And I think, don't know, at next council meeting, we can have a letter agreed upon to send properly, we can't do that here. But yeah, I know people that public commitment for university and college, and it's, well, I know we're already, we're never going part of England, but our main transport links even be more effective as people who, are in a reasonable situation.
That's a new.
I have heard it from a person colleagues, so she does try to use it every day, and it's obviously can't be use. So I do live and breathe not being able to use the one train line we have, so I very much do echo that.
Why don't you never replacement buses? I know from the first week it was flooded, wasn't it, at Everly, but it hasn't been flooded since.
In that bus.
Then fix it.
Can I suggest then, sorry, Chair, that you could just send me a bit of information that I can kind of at that point then pull it all together, even if it's just comments, and we can actually even get a public engagement part maybe. See if we can get some voices from the public on it. And I'll get something put together for next full council.
Yeah, let's do
So
that.
just email me information.
I did see Mr. Room on Facebook making a statement about it,
Yeah, they had a petition going.
so. Okay, we'll do that. So, the other one, you.
Yeah, I've got just a few things for your information. And I think I've emailed all of these out to you probably today, so just trawl through them. There is a meeting with the Police Crime Commissioner, Alison Hernandez, on the 13th of February at 12 o'clock in Bideford. So it is open to all councillors and clerks. I'm not sure if I can make it, I'll have a look, but if I can, we'll try and get over to that. So if anybody wants to go, you are all welcome. In relation to the letter that we sent regarding copper lines, I forwarded all that round to you. There was a response from MP Ian Room with regards to that. I'm not sure that there's much more we can really do on that, but hopefully he will push for something to happen. It has gone to Pat, who is circulating that to the Lee and Lincoln Residents Association, because obviously they're the ones that were affected. I've emailed round to you today, please can you do this? And I'm not just hot air, please do some of the things I ask. There is a survey which Sylvia has put together. It's part of the piece that she's been working on about engagement and trying to get councillors and to get engagement within our community, to get people onto council and on understanding how we work. And she wants your view. There will be a bigger public piece going out. When we do the bigger public piece going out, I would quite like to get a couple of you to say the same thing so we can get a visual, so we'll record a video. So I will be approaching a couple of councillors. Please don't be offended if I don't approach all of you, but it'll be random names out of a hat, kind of. And we're going to want to put something together. So as long as you're happy to be videoed, we will be doing that. Equally, there was a piece of work that the work experience young lady Emily did with us, which I think was a brilliant piece of work, considering she was only here for 4 days and she kind of pulled it all together in between trying to learn a little bit about what we do. Charmaine's already using that as part of her bids for various things. We're going to try and see how we can pull that in with more work that we do, but that's just one voice. So it's quite nice that it was a bit of the positive as well as the negative. It wasn't just Ilfracombe's rubbish and nobody wants to live here. So we will work out how we're going to kind of do that and try and push that out or build on that. So we'll see on that. And the last thing I was going to say was obviously about Careers Fair, which Sarah's just alluded to. 25th of February. Councillors, please do come along. There are going to be businesses there. There's going to be people working. We've got DCC are going to be there. NDC are going to be there. There's going to be lots of conversations going on. So if I can have some support and some presence, I would very much appreciate it. I'm hoping it's going to be a very good event. And it's from 10 till 2. With a roundtable discussion at some point, supposedly, towards the end. So, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
So, 19, reaction from this meeting.
There's going to be a lot. They'll go into your minutes.
Good. I close the meeting.
8:53.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no, let's not do that.